Today at Visual Imaging Solutions, we're going way back in time. The time machine is a Canon PowerShot S5IS camera from 2007, maybe a little earlier. It's an 8 megapixel camera and it has a CCD sensor for aficionados of that type of technology. And the reason we're using it is because today is a day for VHS. Let's find out what we're going to do with this old technology. So our client's given us a videotape, and the reason he's done that is because he recorded some video on this VHS tape in 1985. And he'd like to get that digitized and maybe some of the bad parts cut out, the bad parts being places where there's pauses and content that he doesn't want to keep, but there's a lot of good content that he wants to keep. And so the question is how to get that from the VHS onto some sort of digital format. Well, we're going to use some ancient technology. Right over here we have a VCR, an Emerson VCR, which has been around since probably 1990, 1989. It's played an awful lot of VHS tapes over time. And so we're going to use that old Emerson VHS player to play this tape. But how are we going to digitize it? Well, we're going to use a device called EyeTV, a capture card from EyeTV, which dates back to the era this iMac is from. So this iMac, I think, is a 2006, 2007, somewhere in there. It is the iMac that came out right after Apple switched from PowerPC chips to Intel. So this is, I think, the first Intel iMac. So it's got a Core 2 Duo processor. It was a 2 gigahertz machine. Oddly enough, it's still kind of fast and snappy even now, which surprises me, but you really can't use it to browse the internet at all. I just tested that a few minutes ago just for fun to see what would happen, and no, Firefox is outdated, Safari is outdated, there's no way to update them. This is a 32-bit machine, everything now is 64-bit. I mean, it's kind of in a frozen state where it was last modernized, 10 years ago at the very least, if not longer, probably longer. So it's an antique computer using antique technology, using really antique technology for VHS, and it's the only way we have to run a VHS tape and capture it into digital. And once we capture it into digital, it's a fully modern digital format, so we can then edit it in Final Cut Pro or DaVinci Resolve or whatever you might want to use, iMovie if you really wanted to use iMovie. So we're going to go ahead and try that process right now. The first thing we're going to do is test a VHS that's not our client's. And the reason we're going to do that is to make sure everything is working with this old technology. Now, we have used this for our clients before successfully. A few months ago, I guess about 12 months ago for a Christmas gift, another client had asked us to digitize a wedding tape from her daughter maybe 15 years earlier, 20 years earlier when she got married, to give her a digital version of that wedding tape that was only previously on VHS. So a year ago, this equipment performed exactly as intended, but we don't want to take anything for granted that it's going to continue to perform as intended because it's very old, especially that player. So we're going to test a VHS, make sure it all works. I mean, everything downstream from the player works, but we're going to test that player, see if we're going to get a feed from it, see if it's going to do any damage to a VHS tape that we're going to put in there sacrificially. And if everything looks good, it plays fine, we're going to go ahead and put the client's videotape in there and we're going to capture his video. So here's a VHS tape. It's our Sacrificial VHS tape. No clue what's on it or where it came from. So that'll be fun to see, whatever it is. And I'm using the remote because the buttons do kind of work on that VHS player, but not very reliably. So we're going to try to use the remote to start, stop, and do all the things that it takes to make this work. So let's pop this in and see what happens. That's a good sign. Okay, so let's hit play. I have no idea what we're looking at here. I'm going to fast forward some more to see if we can figure out what this is. Okay, well, the next thing is to pop in the client's VHS tape, and it's a big tape. I think this is one of those really long playing tapes with a big capacity. I'm guessing he probably used the EP setting of 360 minutes because he's got a bunch of stuff on here, but it does say start of tape downtown is what he wants. So we're going to go ahead and grab that out of this package and see if we can't get that going. So you can see this is a really big tape. There's a lot of tape on here. That could be a bit of a challenge. I mean, you can actually feel the heft to this tape. It's going to put more stress on the components of the VCR. Now, if this was 1989 or 1985 and that was a new VCR and this was a new VHS tape, everything would be great and all, but it is many years later and components have worn. Grease on components may have hardened a little bit. The tape may itself be a little tight from lack of use over the years. So the outcome is uncertain. But let's pop it in and we'll find out. Power went off again. Okay, it's actually playing. I'm going to pause it quick and rewind it. So the client's VHS is playing. So now we actually just have to record the segment that is of interest. So I'm just going to quickly rewind that to the very beginning so that I can hit play from the start. And that's done nothing, so I guess we'll just start right here. And I hit the record button, recording started, and play. And we're now digitizing the client's videotape. So here's the tape. We just popped it back out of the VCR and we finished recording it to the EyeTV. This is an Elgato device from way back in the mid-2000s. And fun trip back to memory lane with antique equipment, antique technology, and an antique video for this client. And it looks like it's a complete success. We have a standard definition VHS recorded camera output here, and it came up to a digital file of 670.4 megabytes. So what's next for this file? We are going to give the client this exact copy of this file just as it came off the VHS tape. We're going to make a duplicate of it, and Denise is going to pop that into DaVinci Resolve and clean it up a little bit and up-res it to 1080p. And we're going to give the 1080p to the client as well. I don't know that we'll try to move this to 4K. I don't think there's enough resolution in the original file to bother with for that. So it looks like, in my opinion, I think we'll just give them the 1080p file that's up-resed a little bit from the original, as well as the original. And that's it. So we took a look at transferring a VHS tape using this really antique equipment to this really antique iMac. And the iMac itself, I should say, it worked really, really well for this job. And we're going to keep this iMac around for this job. We're going to keep that VHS player around for this type of job. We may pick up another VHS player every so often. You see them come up, like not too long ago at Goodwill. I saw that they had a brand new, still in the box, never opened Magnavox VHS player, and I think they wanted $35 or something for it. I probably should have bought that, but those come around every so often. And we'll probably pick up a second VHS player. I'm kind of looking for one that has a DVD and VHS player combo, and that would still have the RF out port, which allows me to connect this Elgato EyeTV. That's the only way to connect this Elgato EyeTV capture device, is through the RF out port on these older players. So we will still be able to, in theory, the plan is, offer this service to our clients for a few years yet to come. So we have a couple of different technologies to potentially use to upres this and improve the quality of it. One is Topaz Video AI, and we've used that a few times for projects, once with a client project, and it does upres. Whether or not it marginally improves the output from one of these, you know, I think it does a little bit. It's not a silver bullet. The newer versions of DaVinci Resolve have a super resolution function, and I think we're going to try that with this. So we will show you a couple of clips of the upres versus the original, so you can kind of see what you get with output from that. But that's something we're going to run to do next, and stay tuned and we'll show you those clips. Look at it on a case-by-case basis. Is your VHS tape in good condition? Will it work in our player? Are you willing to take the risk of using your antique technology to try to capture it? Because this could fail at any time when we're doing this work. It could come out that this gets completely destroyed in the player and nothing is obtained for output that's useful. So if you're willing to take that risk, if you've got memories you want to retain that are on one of these, you might want to think about getting them off, and we might be able to help you out with that. So this is Dennis, Visual Imaging Solutions, and antique technology down memory lane with some old footage from 1985 on old technology. If you thought this was mildly interesting, give us a like and a subscribe. We'd really appreciate that. And if you have any questions about doing this, get in touch and we'll see if we can give you some answers. Thanks. Bye.